Hello, Todd here from Great Escape Farms. Today we're talking about the Korean Bush Cherry plant. This plant has a scientific name of Prunus japonica. It is a fine textured bush cherry with fuzzy leaves that grows 5 to 8 feet in height and width. It is hardy in zones 4 through 8, and it is a native to central China through Korea. It produces average sized to small bright red cherries in midsummer, and it is covered in fragrant flowers in the spring, which will lead to the cherries in the summer. It is self-fertile, although two plants will increase the fruiting. It makes for tasty juice, jelly, and is high in antioxidants. It does make good pies. Well, it does make for tasty pies, but it's a lot of work because the cherries are a little bit smaller than the commercial ones that you'll find on the market. So this plant here in my yard has been here for, let's see, this is the third year, and it came in just as a small little sprout. And you can see here, let's figure out where the new growth is because we're going to do some pruning today. So right here, it kind of looks similar. On a lot of bushes, you can tell just by the looks of it. But this one, you kind of have to go by texture because right here, this is the old growth, and this is where it's very, very rough. This is new growth, and it looks the same, but it's actually smooth, and you can notice a little bit more green there, but this is rough and hard. This is smoother and softer here. So any cuttings that we're going to take from this new growth here, this year's growth. So let me go ahead and do a little bend test here. Okay, so let me find it in the camera here. So I just bent it over, and you can see it is woody and snapped. So this is semi-softwood or semi-hardwood, whichever you call it. So the reason that matters is that has to do with the rooting hormone and how we go about it. So softwood, if I had bent this over like this and it just kind of snapped and it didn't have the woody fibrous look to it, that would be softwood. This is semi-softwood or semi-hardwood where you have the woodiness to it, but it's snapped, and it is the summertime growth. In the winter, it becomes what we call hardwood. And hardwood, again, it would snap. It would be very, very fibrous. It would not have any leaves on it because this is a deciduous tree, and it would lose its leaves, and you actually propagate it differently that way. So hardwood cutting, you just kind of put it in the ground. You don't need a mist system. For both softwood and semi-softwood, you need a mist irrigation system, and we'll explain what that is later. So the process that we're going to do here, and I'm actually going to show you through it, but I'm going to explain it here real quick. I'm going to come and I'm going to grab my cutters, and I'm going to cut not all, but I'm going to cut the sections off that I think I'm going to use for plant propagation. I'm going to take it to a table, and then I'll cut it down to the right size. I'll explain what the size is when I get there. Once the size is right and I have the leaves to the right number on the branches, then I will dip them in rooting hormone, and then I'll put them in a mist irrigation bed, and we're going to go through all of that together. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, take some cuttings, and I'll be back with you over at the table. Hey guys, quick sidebar here on tools. So you can use whatever tool you want, a pair of scissors, a sharp knife, a pair of cutters like I have here, just trimmers. What you want is something that's very, very sharp that will cut without bruising the cambium of the wood that you're cutting. So the cambium is the soft part where the water goes up. You don't want to bruise that, you want to actually cut that. So make sure your tools are very sharp, whatever you're using. Also make sure they're clean. So I clean mine after every type of plant I do. So if I'm doing Adam's elderberry, before I move to a John's elderberry, I'll clean it. I may do 100 cuts on an Adam's elderberry, and I'll only clean it the first time before I do it. And then before I move on to a John's or a Nova elderberry, I will go ahead and clean it again. So I'm grabbing these just out of the shed. I can't remember if I cleaned it last time, so I'm going to start off by cleaning. The way that I'm going to clean is I'm just going to take some regular hand sanitizer here, whatever type you are into, and put a couple squirts on a paper towel. And by that, next I'm just going to rub it on the tool all along here And I'm not so much worried about getting dirt off as I am worried about killing any fungus or bacteria or any kind of disease that would spread from plant to plant. So I want to make sure, and this hand sanitizer will kill any of that stuff. So all I need to do is rub it on the whole area, go ahead and wipe it off, and then we are good to go. So now I'm going to go ahead and make my cuts. Okay guys, I'm here to make up the rooting hormone solution for this section of the video. So I use the Dip and Grow liquid rooting hormone solution. That's a picture of what it looks like. You open it up and there's all kinds of warnings on it saying not to get it on your skin and everything. If you have sensitive skin, you might want to use rubber gloves. In here it does talk about different dosages to use, which is why I like the liquid stuff. So for hardwood cuttings, you use a 1:5 ratio. For medium softwood cuttings, you use a 10:1 ratio. And for softwood cuttings, you use a 20:1 ratio. So I am working with softwood cuttings here, so I am going to mix 20:1. I actually measured this out earlier, so for me it's a 1.5 cups of this solution in this particular container here, mixed with water, and then I fill it up 3/4. Or I fill it up 3/4 with water. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that up real quick. So there's 1 cap, and then about a half, and then I'm going to fill this 3/4 of the way up with water, and that's about 3/4. And now my rooting hormone is ready to go. So that's it for this. Let me go ahead and do some more cuttings, and then we'll actually dip it in the rooting hormone. Okay guys, back here with the Korean Bush Cherry. I have the branches here. I've already started to trim a few. This is ultimately what we want right here. About 2 leaves on the top. The leaves are cut in half, and you have about 3 to 6 nodes on these particular bushes. So a node is anywhere that a leaf comes across, so I'm going to take 5 on this one. So I'm going to take the 3 bottom leaves here. I'm just going to hold my hand and pull them off, and then right above the second leaf up here, I end up with just 2 leaves, and then I cut them crosswise. If you see the vein coming up on the back side there, I want to go across the vein like that. And same with this one, I want to go across the vein. So the reason for that is we don't want too many leaves there to do transpiration, which is kind of like a human perspiring or perspiration. Transpiration is where they're losing water. So we want to keep the leaves wet, but we don't want too many leaves there. We just need enough to keep it alive and help it produce some roots and stuff. So let me do it differently here. So I'm going to take 5 on this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to cut right here. So I have 5 internodes on here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I'm going to keep the top 2. So the top 2 leaves stay. I pull that one off, I pull this one off, and I pull this one off. And then this leaf is already damaged, so I'm not going to do too much with it. This one's also about halfway. So you cut it in half, and that's what we're looking for. So once we get them cut to the size that we want, we prepare them to go in the ground. We take them and we mix them into our rooting hormone, which is right here. Hold it in for about 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take it up, shake it off. Again, be careful not to get it on you or in your eyes or anything else. This is some rooting hormone, some nasty stuff. And then once this is done, we can put it into our misting system. So I will run you over as soon as I finish cutting these up, and we'll move to the part where we actually put it into the misting bed. So this is my mist irrigation bed here. I have 2 nozzles here, one here and one right there, 2 mist nozzles, and they're going to come on in just a few seconds. There we go. You can see they are on. So they're both on right now, and they're overlapping one another. And what they're doing is they're just spraying a fine mist down on the plants here, and they come on once every 5 minutes for 10 seconds. And you can see the water kind of dripping off of the leaves here, and I have it set up to come on at 6 a.m. and to shut off at 9 p.m. So it's not running during the night, only during the heat of the day, and that's to prevent transpiration and to keep the water, keep the leaves moist so that they don't burn or anything, and that way they will have something with photosynthesis to actually allow it to make roots. So that's the mist part here. When I'm actually planting in a couple of minutes, I'll shut these down because I'm going to have the iPhone real close. I don't want to soak yet. A couple other things. So I have a document right here, and it has numbers on the side, over here on the row, on the far left hand side, and you see it says row 2, 4, 6, 8, and row 2 is John's elderberry, row 4 is non-applicable, row 6 is Adam's elderberry. Nothing on row 8 yet, but that's where I'm going to be putting the Illinois everbearing mulberry that I have. And then you'll notice that in row 14 I also have Illinois everbearing mulberry. I took some earlier in the year, but they're not doing so well, so I wanted to wait and take some a little bit later in the year. So what I do is I put down a tape measure from the end. Row 2 is at 2-inch mark, row 4 is at 4, and there's nothing there. Row 6 is where my elderberry is, row 8 is where the mulberry will be. And you can see I'm right on top. What I do is I put a piece of wood, a piece of bamboo that came in with a plant here, and that allows me to keep my row straight. So I will have all the rows in here, and make sure that you document. So on my document here, I have the quantity that I planted, and in the notes section I have little notes here. So I have an A on that one, I have a B on that one, and I put down here when I planted it. And well, let's see, for A I used powdered rooting hormone, and for row B I still need to mark it, but I use liquid rooting hormone there. Today will be row C because I am in August and I'll have a different day, so I will put the date planted and the fact that I'm using liquid rooting hormone there. So real quick, let me talk about the rest of the mist system irrigation bed here. So the mist heads, they're DRAM, D-R-A-M-M mist heads that feed into a 1-inch PVC pipe here, which goes into a let's see, a lawn sprinkler here. This runs into an electric wire which I have back in my shed back there, and that has a Galcon 8056 ACS, I think it is, programmable sprinkler valve that shuts these on and off. And like I said, it's on from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. for every 5 minutes. It comes on for 10 seconds at a time. So that's how it comes on and off, is with the timer. My input is right here, and I have another piece going off to the side that's for future use. Right now it's just dead-ended and not used. And I go into a water filter here. This water filter is designed to remove any chlorine and stuff like that. So I'm giving it straight filtered water at least. And I'm just coming out of a garden hose. There's the garden. Okay guys, so I have the cuttings here. I've already started to put some in. I'm measured off at 22 inches, so I'm row 22 here. I have my stake going across, so I'm lining up. I've dipped them in rooting hormone, and I'm gonna push them down about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And I'm gonna place them about 1 inch apart because their roots don't spread out too far. Other plants like elderberry spread the roots out a good bit and get tangled up if you put them too close together. So that's it for this one. I'm just going to finish putting these in. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I hope you have a great day.